Two symptomatic infected hairstylists came to the salon one day to work. 139 clients were potentially exposed to coronavirus. None of them tested positive or came down with the virus. One woman, perceived to be asymptomatic, went to church one day, and 5,000 people were infected as a result. What was the difference between these two instances? I'll tell you in this video. Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about masks. Now there has been an immense amount of controversy regarding the wearing of masks in public places, and I'm here to help you set it all straight. So this is one of the questions from the Q&A that I did on my Instagram. So I'm confused. At the beginning of the pandemic, they were telling us not to wear masks and that we don't need them, and now they're telling us that we have to wear masks and pushing masks on us. So what's the deal? So the short answer is that at first, when public health organizations were telling people to stop wearing masks, it was because there was a global mask shortage, and the frontline healthcare providers did not have enough masks to be able to change their personal protective equipment, or PPE, often enough to stay safe. Thousands of healthcare providers died of COVID in the early months of the pandemic as a result. Since then, the production has been amped up, and we have discovered homemade masks, when sewed correctly, also offer significant protection, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. We've known masks are protective against both wearers and those around them since the 1918 flu pandemic, as the flu is also spread through droplets, just like COVID. But recent research using 2020 technology only affirmed it. So should masks be used in conjunction with social distancing or instead of social distancing? The transmission of viruses is always lower with a mask versus no mask. Many studies have shown it. I actually have a list of references of all the things I'm about to say in the description. So transmission of viruses was lower with physical distancing of 1 meter or more compared with a distance of less than 1 meter. So the farther, the better. And this was from a study from Gandhi et al. This study also says that N95 masks are better than surgical masks, which are better than cloth homemade masks. However, they all protect significantly. Though there is actually some debate between whether N95 is better than surgical or the same. So a study by Summerstein et al. Showed that surgical masks are just as good as N95 masks, and that doesn't make sense to buy extra N95 masks when surgical masks are a fraction of the price and do a similar job. So a Hong Kong study showed that people who tested positive for COVID were several times more likely to have frequented bars, indoor dining, gyms, etc., and they call this mask-off settings, where these people were wearing no masks in these places, compared to people who tested negative for COVID. Please don't take your mask off to talk. You can hear me just fine, right? So I can hear you just fine. And talking spreads the virus. So what have we learned today? Number 1, wearing a mask is exponentially better than wearing no mask. Number 2, you don't need to wear a fancy N95 mask unless you are a frontline healthcare worker in a high-risk setting. And finally, what was the difference between the hairdressers and the churchgoer? The hairdressers in Springfield, Missouri wore masks, and not a single one of their clients were infected despite them both being symptomatic on the job. And the Korean lady who went to church, 5,000 people ended up getting the virus because of her. She did not wear a mask. Moral of the story is not to go to work if you have symptoms, because you really should stay home if you have any symptoms or even a suspicion that you had COVID or even were exposed. it's that masks really work. They're not a replacement for social distancing and washing your hands and being careful. They are an additional layer of protection. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.